Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Good evening. Good evening. My name is Michelle Indereden, and I'm the president of the Colonial Beach Community Foundation. We're presenting this opportunity along with the Colonial Beach Chamber of Commerce to meet the candidates for town council. So Carrie Geddes, the president of the chamber, will be the moderator this evening. He will be assisted by Mary Ann Day next to him, who is the timer. And also I have with me Mary Larson, who is also a member of the Colonial Beach Foundation. So I just want to thank all the candidates for being here this evening and for all the participants. Just a note, Tony DeMonte withdrew from the race today for personal reasons. So we have 8 candidates up in the front tonight. It's been a long-standing tradition as an opportunity to get to know the candidates for town council and for mayor when appropriate, that the foundation and the chamber has been hosting. So it's a good opportunity to hear from the candidates in a relaxed kind of setting, and hopefully we all learn a lot this evening. The forum's being broadcast live and recorded on WWER 88.1 FM, also streamed on WWER.org, and it's live on the town's YouTube channel. Also, we have an overflow venue at the CB Brewery. They are showing the town's YouTube channel. So, if anybody,
where did everybody go?
You might want to go to the auxiliary viewing. We know that this probably wasn't the most ideal location. However, we chose it for the microphones, the acoustics, the ability to broadcast live, because we're unable to do that at the elementary school. It's kind of like a fortress there. You can't really get internet or have these other ways that people can participate without being here in person. So we want to thank the town for allowing us to be here and use their equipment. Also, based on feedback from previous forums that we've had, the format this evening is a little bit different. Each candidate received the 5 most asked questions submitted. They received those last Friday, and then they were able to write up information and answers to those questions, and those were all submitted back to us on Sunday and posted on the Colonial Beach Community Foundation website and also the Chamber's website. So if you are listening live or watching, you can go to those websites to get the information. They're also printed here in the back of the room. Each of the candidates has also received in advance all the questions that were submitted. So everyone has all the questions ahead of time. There are no surprise questions. Some candidates have received questions specifically addressed to them, and when their turn comes up, they will be asked those questions. You will have 2 minutes at the beginning to give an opening statement, each of the candidates. Then we will ask the questions. Carrie Geddes will ask the first question of Ms. Roberson, and then the next question of Mr. Janena, and so on. You have 2 minutes for your responses. We ask that you adhere to the 2 minutes because we have a lot of candidates, a lot of questions to get through, and it's just respectful to not go over your time. If you go over your time after being warned, you might ask to leave. At 8:30, we're going to finish the questioning portion of the forum, and at that time, each candidate will have 3 minutes for summation, rebuttal, or any other information that you wish to present to the public. And we'll try to get through as many questions as possible. Also, as a reminder, this is not an audience participation event. We ask that you respect the candidates and each other by not clapping, yelling, or making any other disruptive actions. Participants may be asked to leave due to disruption. We have a lot of candidates and a lot of questions to get through, and we want to make it as easy as possible for everyone to get all the information that they need. So I'd like to introduce the candidates as they are sitting up in front. The first candidate on the left is Vicki Roberson. Then we have Chuck Denena, Kenneth Allison Jr., Rick Wood, Tree Mack, Tony Ciziani, David Williams, Lizette Montalvo. and that is the order the questions will be asked. So again, we thank you. We ask that you cooperate with our rules, and we'll have a great forum. So let's begin.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. Mrs. Roberson, you have 2 minutes opening.
Okay. My name is Vicki Roberson. I moved to Colonial Beach in 1978 to take a 5th grade position for Colonial Beach schools. My husband Larry began his career at CDHS in 1977 and he retired in 2007. I worked for them until 2004 when I left for personal reasons. I ran for a position on school board in 2008 and served in that position from 2009 to 2018. I also served as vice chair during my tenure on the board. I currently hold a seat for the Rappahannock Community College Board of Directors. I ran for council in November of 2018, and my current term on council began in 2019. During my time on council, we have hired a town manager who is degreed and certified to do her job. We have had training to understand our roles and our positions as members of council. We have a budget that is well thought out and implemented. Our employees are knowledgeable in the fields. Putting the right people in the right places is paramount in town. It is imperative we address our growth and be thoughtful about it. As a current councilwoman, we are addressing this. Our infrastructure was sorely in need of repair, and we are currently working on that as well. When I moved here, our population was approximately 2,000. Obviously, our town has been able to grow and prosper. I want to continue being small, so I am not in favor of becoming a city. Becoming a city requires state stipulations and requirements. It is not advantageous, and we don't have to have the state requirements. Lastly, I am in favor of keeping our school system. We live in a very close-knit community, and a piece of us would be missing if we didn't have it. In closing, I wouldn't be speaking here to you this evening if I didn't want to be a part of the governmental process. Everything is not perfect, and we can't please everyone. But after living here and hoping for many years, I still believe in Colonial Beach. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Roberson. Mr. Denena, 2 minutes.
My name's Chuck Denena, and we moved here in 2008. My answers are not scripted. I'm just going to give it to you from my gut, so just bear with me. I want you to know that these are honest answers coming from me. We moved here in 2004. I was introduced to Colonial Beach in 2000. I went to work for Virginia Farm Bureau. My office was just across from the fire department. Met Carrie Geddes, got involved with the Colonial Beach Yacht Club. I was the membership committee chair. At that point, my wife, and this is not about my wife, it's about me, but I need to get to that point. My wife became a secretary at the high school. We got involved in the high school. I was on the boosters committee. I was on the education foundation and got to see what the school really did for the kids. It was amazing. Kids would, after hours, after 3 o'clock, and they're not doing that now, I don't think, but after 3 o'clock, they would get together in the cafeteria and they would just cheer each other on. They would help each other do their homework. They would do their projects. The gym was open so that they could play basketball, they could go outside, they could practice baseball, football, do whatever they wanted. These things are important because these kids need this outlet, and the school did an amazing job of doing that. And I'm not sure what's going on now because our two have graduated from there years ago, but I would like to see that continue because I don't believe that it has. Let's see here. And as far as the chamber goes, I was very, very active in that as well.
Thank you, Mr. Denena.
Thank you.
Mr. Allison, 2 minutes.
Yes, sir. My name is Kenneth Allison Jr. I grew up in Colonial Beach. As a kid, I lived in Buck Point, moved to several different areas in the town, and I currently live on First Street, across from the elementary school, which is wonderful having a second grader that I can just walk across the street. I also have a lovely wife that's in the audience. We've been married for 12 years. Don't smack me. I think it's 12. And I have three older children as well, which all have graduated from Colonial Beach High School. Two of them work locally at Food Line and Lido's, and one of them is currently at ODU, which he's very happy that they beat Tech, but we'll leave that aside from coach. I got involved in the government when Pat and I left. There was an open position to be appointed. I threw my name in the hat, not really thinking that I would be picked, but luckily I was. I came on town council, hit it hard running, trying to learn as much as I could. Tried to win the election last time and unfortunately was lost by about 30 votes. But I'm here again. I'm ready to do it. Plans have gone forward, and we're gonna try to win this time. As my wife says, we are gonna win this time. So Mike Kirby left when he had personal reasons to move away, and I went back to be appointed again. Was appointed and have been going to each town council ever since. Staying engaged, working with citizens, talking to people, and again, it's barely been a labor of love, not just for the town itself, but talking to the younger folks. Most of them still call me Coach Kenny from when I was coaching in school, and I want to continue this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ellison. Mr. Wood, 2 minutes.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the opportunity to address you tonight. One of the things I want to say is I'm really impressed with Chuck's commitment to the schools. I feel the same way. I moved here 5 years ago because when I first came here, I heard these exotic words I hadn't heard in Northern Virginia called please and thank you. People said excuse me when they bumped into each other. And the longer I stayed here, the more I realized that I was coming home, even though I'd never been here before. I became active in the community. I joined the Eagles. Within 2 weeks, someone with the Eagles was helping me with a project at the house. I'm also a member of the Moose. I'm also a member of the American Legion. I'm active in the foundation. I'm active in band. And that's not because I have ADD, nothing to do. But I do think it's important that you give back to your community. Because what's amazing is when you do that, you get so much more back. I was visiting with some of the people in the Meadows about a week ago, and they were describing some of the issues that they had as far as getting to their medical appointments, being able to check in on people that they were afraid weren't doing well. And I realized as a private citizen, there's so much that we can do. And one of the reasons that I want to offer what I feel are the skills that I can is to make people's lives better in an individual way. Yes, we need to set budgets. We need to help guide the town. But there's so much more that we can do just on a constituent service basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Mack, 2 minutes.
Hello. Okay. All right. I don't think my mic is working, so I'll just speak up. Thanks, Rick. How's that? All right. So first of all, thank you everybody for coming. And whether you're here in person or you're tuned in from the brewery or at home, thanks for paying attention to all of this. Thanks for everybody else who's participating as well. I think this is part of the process that's very important, and glad we're having it. We first came to Colonial Beach about 15 years ago, stayed at the Bell House when it was still an Airbnb. Well, not an Airbnb, but a B&B, and fell in love with the town pretty much immediately. I originally grew up in a small Florida beach town, and it felt like Rick said, it felt like coming home. We, about a year later, bought a weekend house and started fixing that up and spending our time here, and gradually more and more came to the beach rather than where we were, and about 5 years ago moved here permanently. I retired from the Army in 2010. After that, I became a government contractor, started off down at Fort Eustis, and only about not quite 2 years ago, got a job here at Dahlgren. So when we moved here full-time, I was still doing a 2.5-hour commute each way every day, but was willing to do it because I was coming home to Colonial Beach. Love this town, love the small town feel. I've been a volunteer with multiple organizations for many festivals, and have been attending town council meetings since about 2017, and attend most of them. Been going to enough of them to know you got to bring your own cushion, because no matter what the chairs may look like, they just don't cut it. And when COVID hit and we couldn't really come to them, we were watching them on TV too. I'm looking forward to the opportunity to be able to help out and bring my services to the town. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Mr. Siciliani, 2 minutes.
Buonasera, everyone. Tony Siciliani here. I had no idea I was going to try to run for council. It was the furthest thing in my mind when I retired, but now I'm involved. So I'll tell you a little bit myself. I offer something to the town and to the council that's unique because I believe I can offer that. And what it is, I'm a professional problem solver. I spent my whole career in infrastructure, facilities, planning, scheduling, production, my whole career. And I'm up there in age. So give you a little background. I'm a U.S. Army veteran. I have a degree in economics, and I have many, many years of training in my profession. I have worked for companies such as Micron in Manassas, Virginia. I was their logistics manager years and set up systems for them that they're still using now in inventory, material handling. Also worked for a company called Washington Group International. I was tasked to problem solve for East Coast manufacturing facilities, and you know about Kraft Foods in this eastern part of the United States, mostly cookies. I was tasked to go into their facilities and address what they thought were the problems, to come up with a list of the issues, to offer them ideas of how to reconcile, give them a timeline of how long it will take, and a budget also to show.
Thank you, Mr. Siciliani. Mr. Williams, 2 minutes.
Good evening, everybody. My name's David Williams. I'm running for Colonial Beach Town Council. Did this last year. It was a big decision to decide to run for council. I've been to every meeting for the last 2 years, except for I think one, and that one I watched online. I've been to many planning commission meetings, and so I've been very involved. I speak on behalf of the residents when I think there's issues that the residents maybe aren't getting voice on. And so when I did win council last year, I brought that with me. I've been in Colonial Beach for a relatively short time, just 4 years now. But half of that time I've been to all the meetings, and I just paid a lot of attention to what was going on. A little bit about my background. I work for a large government agency, have a sizable team that coordinates disaster financial activities throughout the country. And I've got a business degree and 25 years of business experience. Manage small businesses, so I can kind of relate to what they're going through and struggles they have in town. Grew up in a small town, but also right now I'm working for the government and on a much larger scale, dealing with billions of dollars instead of thousands for the small businesses. One of the things I can say that is I've been an advocate for the residents, and I've spoken up for them in many occasions. I helped save Castlewood Park from being turned into a parking lot a couple of years ago. The town had slated that to be destroyed, and I came and spoke at meetings, and that's basically what got me involved in town politics. And I've also advocated since I've been on council for things like repairing the golf cart path, be upfront and honest with the people when it comes to the condition of the pier, because we found out recently it was much worse than we were told. Right now, I'm currently serving as a public works liaison for town council. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Dr. Montalvo, 2 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody for being here tonight. It means a lot to us, the candidates, to see your support. Thank you to the candidates for running. It's tough and also it's a challenge. Sometimes we even get trolls in social media. So thank you for running and thank you for your time. One thing that you have heard from everybody, and it's not different from me, is the love for Colonial Beach. We came here to Colonial Beach in 2006. A couple of weeks later, we bought our first house. It was a weekend house, second home. We would come every weekend. We actually didn't tell our kids. We called it Love Shack. And we just escaped from the kids and came to Colonial Beach and started having a family here because the community here is a family. We started moving forward, bought different houses, and then it was time for us to start planning our retirement. As we plan our retirement, we visited the 50 states. And one thing I have to tell you, every time that we went somewhere, it has magnificent qualities, but Colonial Beach was calling our heart. So 8 years ago, we bought a house here where we live now. And I've been a permanent resident for the past 3 years. And I want to make sure that you know, to me, Colonial Beach means a lot. Why I am running? After we saved Castlewood, we started noticing several things. And I do believe that the main problem that Colonial Beach has is the lack of a business sense and practice in town. I want everybody to know that I have the knowledge and experience to bring that to this town. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Montalvo. We'll now go to the question and answer round. First question will be for you, Mrs. Roberson. Do you feel that during town meetings, allowing public comment for 5 minutes versus the current 3 minutes would allow constituents to explain concerns in greater detail? Would you support a change to 5 minutes? 2 minutes.
I think that it would depend upon the topic that was being presented. Some topics are straightforward and people say exactly what they want or want to share with us. And then there are other ones. We do, and I'm sure everybody knows this, if an individual speaks, it's 3 minutes. If it's a group, it's 5. But you can come and ask if you may have more time for a major project or something like that. So I think that would work.
Thank you, Ms. Robertson. Mr. Doneno, what types of business/services would you like to see come to Colonial Beach? How should those businesses be encouraged to come and invest in the town?
Well, again, with the children, I would like to see maybe a trampoline park, something smaller, because we can't answer every question, or not every question, but every problem that the town has. This has to be done through businesses in town. You can get committees or groups together to do this, but I would like to see a medical facility come in where that may stay open until 11 o'clock at night, just a clinic type. It doesn't have to be a doctor. I would like to see doctors come in here and maybe work 4 or 5 hours here and maybe at another location. I know we can't pay them what they're making in the cities. We currently have a problem with an attorney that's just left, a CPA that can't sell his firm, and another physician in Montrose that's having an issue, the same issue. So trying to bring things, manufacturing might be one, storage facility might be another, something like a small Amazon outlet where drivers could pick up and deliver. There are various things you can do, maybe a driving range, a batting cage, something that's small that could survive to thrive in the town, but that's really a difficult question, but I would like to see something like that.
Thank you, Mr. Denena. Mr. Allison, what are your thoughts about the program that allows the public to rate our law enforcement officers? What will the cost be to us if purchased? 2 minutes.
So I think any feedback for our officers is good, whether they're doing great or have a bad service with a resident or citizen or visitor. I think that they can use that information for training purposes, understanding what future information they need to have. But as far as cost, and I looked it up while I was on council, that is directly dependent upon the size of the police department. So I don't know if there is on the website and information we got, there was no direct cost associated with it. So I'm not sure what the associated cost would be. But I do know that they can apply for grants for those particular services. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Mr. Wood, would you support a resolution/ordinance requiring that any vendor/consultant/business doing transactions with the town must have a Colonial Beach business and occupational license? 2
Well,
minutes.
actually, there's some confusion around that. A license is required by any business that is in town for 6 months. The only people who are not required to have that license are the vendors who come for the various craft shows and stuff that are there for the weekend and so forth. So it's really not an issue because the folks who are with us pretty much year round are already have that license.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Mack, there's a very low inventory of rental housing in Colonial Beach. Many of the people who staff our local businesses cannot afford to buy and need to rent housing. What would you do to increase the inventory of rental housing in this community? 2 minutes.
Well, I agree, there is a need for rental housing and workforce housing in our community. And I think the best way for us to be able to increase the levels of that is working with the developers we already have in town and developers that might come to town through our planned urban development code. And in that, there are percentages of types of housing that are required, and they can only have certain percentages. And working with those developers and providing them incentives in order to provide that kind of housing that's affordable for our workers to live in. And we're not talking about subsidized or Section 8 housing. We're talking about the kind of housing that our teachers, our police officers, the people working in the service industry, and our clerks in our stores can all afford to live in, to either buy or to rent, either way. So I think working with the developers is probably the best way to increase that amount of housing.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mack. Mr. Siciliani, how would you lessen the work of the members of town council? 2 minutes.
Town council, I don't know how to measure that, but I don't know if it would be spend 1 or 2 days a week on it or a couple hours a week. I believe that the council members should spend as much time as necessary to solve the problem or do some research that it takes to complete the task or to give their opinion. I would have the whatever it takes attitude. I have the time and I have the energy and the experience to do that. So lessening your workload, I don't see any reason to lessen the workload because that's what we're here for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Siciliani. Mr. Williams, since you are a current council member and voted yes for the majority of this year's council session votes, why are you running your campaign on Time for a Change? 2 minutes.
Thank you. That's a great question. For one thing, a lot of people don't understand the budget process, and I learned a lot this year myself, being first-year council member. One of the issues that I ran into with the process this year is, as a council member, I was given very limited information. A very high-level budget, and it was sporadic. I'm not saying that the town didn't do a good job of providing information, but to me, it wasn't enough. I didn't see how many employees, were on each department. They don't give us a very low level, and also the fact that it took quite a while to get the information to us. Like, for example, I had to ask for the budget like a couple of days before our beginning of May meeting to discuss the budget. To me, that's not enough time for a council member to go through all that. One of the biggest problems I had was with this last budget that the first one I was on, is the fact that we were spending what I thought was too much. For example, we had several new employees since the new administration took over in 2021. We had over $500,000 worth of employees hired for the town. I mean, that's fine if we can afford that, but in my opinion, you can't keep telling the town council that we can afford this, and then all of a sudden, when it comes time to vote, or when it comes time to vote for a budget, they're like, oh, wait, we're broke. We need to raise your taxes by $500,000, or actually closer to $1 million. And I was against that. I'm sorry, but I told the taxpayers when I ran that I was going to hold be fiscally responsible with their money. I'm very fiscally conservative with my own money, and I want to be with the people's money. So I voted no for the budget. I'm sorry. I voted no for the tax increase. And in fact, there was only one other person on council that voted no with me. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Dr. Montalvo, several people asked, does candidate Montalvo have all of her vehicles now registered in the state of Virginia in Colonial Beach? Does she pay personal property taxes, real estate, and other taxes to the town of Colonial Beach in Westmoreland County? Is she a full-time resident in Colonial Beach? 2 minutes.
Thank you for that question. Now I can tell my side of the story. I am very excited by it. I only own one vehicle in Colonial, one vehicle in my whole life. It's registered in Virginia since I purchased. And you know what? I was not even a resident. You don't have to be a resident to pay taxes. So I've been paying taxes on personal property to this town on the only vehicle I own since 2008. I became a resident, full-time resident, when the pandemic happened. So I've been here full-time. I changed my driver's license, did everything I need to do. I'm here in this town as a permanent resident. That's what I am running. And as other taxes, my God, I have several houses here. If I was not paying my taxes, I guess they would be taken away, don't they? So it's a question that helps me tell my story. Thank you to whomever asked that question. Now, as you all know,
No applause, please. No applause.
Thank you. As you all know, I'm running only against Vicki. This is a special election, running against Vicki only. And so I will try my best to address the questions so you see the difference between the two of us. For the 5-minute questions, I have to say, yes, raise the time to 5 minutes. People have the right to speak their truth. We did an analysis, and most people, 99% of the people, actually complete their statement within 3 minutes or less. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Montalvo. Ms. Roberson,
Yes.
please address how you plan to make it attractive for medical services, including facilities for testing, doctor practices, and dentists to come to Colonial Beach.
That's a tough one. We've had doctors here. We've had emergency, there were 2 doctors here when I first got here. And then we had a medical doctor as recent as 4 or 5 years, I think it was, in the shopping center. It's hard to get someone to come when they don't fill the capacity of what they need to make. I know that in the past, we have tried several times to lure someone in, but practices are so expensive now, insurance is so expensive now. They would be coming from another area. The doctors that we had, only Dr. Rosner and Dr. Kerr lived in town. Since then, there were people that were coming to us. I really don't know how we can do that. It's not my forte or field, but we have been looking and without any success. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Roberson. Mr. Denena, as a member of town council, do you think the public should have direct access to you via phone, email, office hours, etc.? 2 minutes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If there's an issue and you know me and you want to come talk to me, please do that. Should I become a town council member.
Thank you, Mr. Denena. Mr. Allison, what would you propose to bring new businesses to Colonial Beach? What type of businesses would you target? 2 minutes.
So one area of focus that almost everybody that I talk to always says there's nothing here for the kids. So one type of business that currently I'm working with the business development manager that we currently have through town council is, if you may have heard of it, down in Irvington, Virginia, is called Compass Entertainment Complex. We're trying to set up a meeting with them to see what the possibility of having another Northern Neck region type facility here. They have everything from a theater to a restaurant, go-karts, batting cages, mini golf, arcade, anything you can think of that would really be beneficial to these children. Because I didn't have anything like that growing up, so I certainly want to make sure that my kids or my grandkids have something like that if possible. Most of the things that we did was on the boardwalk and rode the banana slide all Saturdays. Parents just dropped you off and said, have a good time. So that's the type of business that I would like to bring. And I'm currently working on that with our town manager and business development manager. Hopefully we can make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Mr. Wood, this is going to be a long one, so. Many important items have come before the town council. Some require a public hearing before they are voted on. The only notification required by law in such cases is publication in a distant newspaper. The town has recently added a newsletter with billings and has become more active on social media. They have encouraged citizens to sign up for notice of town meetings. Rarely has the town staff attempted to directly contact individuals who could be affected by a town council decision. They cite the staff time and expense required for such notice. Do you think the town is doing enough to get the word out? If not, what suggestions do you have for improving communication between the town and its citizens?
You know, I think it is segmented between younger citizens and older citizens. Younger citizens are internet savvy, but we're a town that's largely older citizens. So one of the things I think that we can do, yes, we want to encourage people to sign up for those notices. We want to make sure that we can give them access to those internet sites, but also there wouldn't be really an issue with doing something like going by some of the senior citizen centers and doing handbills, making sure those are distributed. The real issue is not that we don't give enough information to the citizens. The issue is they don't always know how to access it. So what I would suggest that we do, it's important that everyone know what's going on so that they can give their input and their feedback and help guide the city or the town in the direction it needs to go. So if that takes a little extra shoe leather and getting notices to those spots where seniors congregate, I think that's a fine idea.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Mack, we're going to give you the question of the night. Should members of town council be paid more?
You know, if I could take the job and retire on it, that would be wonderful. But A, that's not gonna happen. B, it shouldn't happen. Taking a town council position is not about the money. It's about wanting to serve the town and wanting to give of your time and your skills and your knowledge to be able to help the people of the town voice their opinion and be heard, and to be able to help do the best you can to improve the town in any way that may come about. It's not about the money, it's about the love of the town. And apparently it's also about getting technical difficulties fixed, so thank you very much, so I can use my own microphone, but no, I don't think it should be raised. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Mr. Siciliani, with respect to the changes you have described, or your platform, as the case may be, can you detail exactly what authority the CB Town Council has to affect the platform, change, etc. you espouse? Have you familiarized yourself with the jurisdiction of this Town Council? And in particular, what knowledge do you have of funding sources and restricted funds? 2 minutes.
Restricted funds are funds that need to be allocated to only for the purpose designated, whether it be a budget item or if it was a voluntary contribution to the town. My idea would be, which I believe it's happening in somewhat, is to have a separate account specifically for those budgets. And it will make it easier for the town to understand where the money's going. If it's all in one big account, it does get a little bit more difficult to explain to the people of where the money's being sent. The thing about the financial problems in the town that I see is no one knows where the money, they don't believe they know where the money's going. But the council and the financial department need to be so open with the public that they are willing to tell you almost where every penny's going and justify it. I don't see why it can't be so open. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Siciliani. Mr. Williams, since you voted against the budget, how would you have funded the town's operation in lieu of one while still respecting use of dedicated funds? 2 minutes.
Sorry, I thought that was the previous question. The reason I voted against the budget, I said earlier, is because of the lack of transparency, specifically since going through this process for the first time. But the main reason why I voted against the budget was because I didn't see there was a lot of transparency. I really do. I ran on fiscal conservative platform when I ran last year, and that's what I'm running on again this year. That's why I actually invited Lisette Montalvo and Chuck Donetta to my team this year to affect real change, because I didn't feel like the people were being heard or represented fairly. So I asked them to join me, and they basically have the same core values, even though they're individuals. They have the same core values as me, and it's about being transparent with our budget and ensuring that everybody knows when we're spending money that it's going to good use. We're not wasting it. No, we're not doing something like putting a food truck court over on the top of Town Hill for $20,000 when we don't even know that the food trucks want to be there. I talked to several of them this last year, and they said they didn't even really want to be at the top of Town Hill. So why would the town waste money like that? It's not like we've got it. I mean, if I'm going to spend money, I'm going to spend it like when. And so when I look at every budget line item, I ensure that I look at that item and say, would I want to waste this money if it was mine? Would the taxpayers want me to waste this money? And if I feel like it's wasted, I'll just say no. I'll vote no for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Dr. Montalvo, according to the State Corporation Commission website, both you and David Williams, as well as your spouses and another nearby neighbor, are directors of an entity that has no members, named the Colonial Beach Residents Association. In the past, you both have spoken about special interest groups with disdain. What is the Colonial Beach Residents Association and its purpose? Isn't it a special interest group? 2 minutes.
I want to make sure that they can hear me. Apparently, I'm having problems with the microphone. Thank you for that question to whomever asked that question too. It also tells the story. The Colonial Beach Resident Association was formed in March 2021. And the purpose of that corporation was to actually come together as residents to advocate for the people of Colonial Beach. We were successful. We actually, through our workings, we were able to save Castlewood. We also were able to ensure that the potable water remained potable. We actually closed our corporation because in reality, even the town didn't include us in the comprehensive plan, despite that we asked many times. We closed our corporation in October because we decided that it was better for David to run for town council. In there, he will really represent people and have a better impact. We closed the corporation, we filed taxes, filed the report, and there was I don't know, I take responsibility, I miss it. I didn't follow through on the termination documents that were submitted. And by the way, if you go to the website, you will see that it was terminated. I addressed that just yesterday when it was noted that it will remain open. So the life of this company was very short. I had never spoken with disdain or minimized the nonprofits in town. They do a great job. But I have exposed the things that are wrong, like trying to close Castlewood when they were supposed to protect it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Montalvo. Ms. Roberson, what do you think is the role of the town in supporting those with special needs, such as the elderly, infirm, etc.? 2 minutes.
I think it's our job to provide everything that is needed for those individuals. As far as I know, we do that. If anyone could give me an example or that where it's not done, that we don't take care of those who need those particular things. I would like to know that.
Thank you, Ms. Roberson. Mr. Donena, Drifter Pride is very important in Colonial Beach. What kinds of activities have you done to support our schools? Please provide specific examples such as volunteering, school supply drives, attending sporting events, or award ceremonies. 2 minutes.
Well, in my opening statement, I think I covered quite a few of those, but I'll go over them again. I worked at the concession stand, worked for the boosters, was on the Education Foundation. We sold banners with family names on it or business names, all for the school, just to support the school. And that was during Dr. Alice Howard, like I said, her tenure, and with Clint Runyon as principal. I was on homecoming committees. Lord, I can't remember everything that I did. I know that if they called, I was there and did what they needed. As one thing that I can remember, I'm a member, I still think I'm a member, of the Colonial Beach Cruisers. And when homecoming, Potomac River Festival, Fireman's Parade, I would contact other Colonial Beach Cruiser members to get cars for the parade. That's all I can remember at this point. It was just so much.
Thank you, Mr. Donena. Mr. Allison, what is your understanding of the town council, town of Colonial Beach's budgeting process? 2 minutes.
Could you repeat that?
What is your understanding of the town of Colonial Beach's budgeting process?
Okay. So our budgeting process runs from July to June. Each year we go through individual council member sit downs with the town manager and the finance department and go through those line by line to ensure that we understand what the budgeted items are for, what's being paid to what money we're receiving, and that also includes the water and sewer. We have several presentations that go through each council meeting up to voting on the actual budget. And then we also provide a audit at the end of the year that handles the budget as well. So it's very comprehensive. You know, we have months to look at it, understand it, and go through each of the items that we can validate throughout the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Mr. Wood, how would you change the organization of the town council? 2 minutes.
There's really no need to change the organization of the town council. It's set up by the charter that we've operated under for a long time. The way that it works is the council gives the town manager instruction. The town manager is to act on that instruction. And at that point, when they put together the plans, they go back to the council, it's voted on. It's part and part of a representative democracy. Democracy's worked pretty well so far the past 250 years, so I don't see any real need to change it. What I will say is this: it is important that people get accurate information, because if you'll take a look at the Virginia Department of Health website as far as the water quality, there is no problem with Colonial Beach water. So the implication that there is something wrong, that you're being poisoned, is just not true. It's not fair. And I think it was important to point that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Mack, do you believe that the town has underpriced assets that it has sold or put into easement over the last 24 months? I'm speaking of Eleanor Park and the Boardwalk condo projects. 2 minutes.
Well, first of all, I think what the town did with Eleanor Park, for the purposes of encouraging people to come to the town, whether they're new people that are going to visit or new people that are going to buy property, I think it was a smart idea, because statistics will show you that towns and cities with green spaces are much more popular to people than ones that don't have it. You can go anywhere across the country to any of the major cities, to include San Francisco, New York, Dallas, anywhere, and you'll see that they have major areas of green space in town. So those are very important to our citizens. And we probably need some more of those on the north end of town. I'm sure those folks would agree with that statement. As far as the Dotson development on the boardwalk, statistics are also going to show you that when you have mixed-use facilities in a downtown area where you have residents over the top of commercial areas, those residents typically spend 40% of their paycheck in that downtown area. So what we're doing by having that development is we're bringing individuals into the town that are going to live there. Some of them may telework. Some of them may have jobs at shops in the town, because hopefully we can bring more clothing stores and maybe a nice wine and cheese shop, something like that, into town. And those people will spend their money in town. So doing that was a smart idea in the long run. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Mr. Siciliani, how do you feel about property owners who are not residents not having the right to vote for your position, which sets and approves the taxes that they pay? There are 11 states that give municipalities the right to decide what property owners can vote on. Virginia is not one yet. 2 minutes.
People with their investment property do pay property tax to the town. But it's unfortunate we don't get too involved in our town as far as the council, attending meetings, pretty much don't attend our events. And my opinion is, I want full-time residents voting for the town. I pretty much don't want an outsider having a vote, and the reason because they may not have the same interest that we do in town. And if there was a substantial amount of people that do rent, that could interfere with our plan for the future or what is going on in the projects in the town now.
Thank you, Mr. Siciliani. Mr. Williams, a council position is a huge commitment of volunteer hours. In the last 2 years, what volunteer time have you committed to this community? And what was an example of a positive impact that you made through that time? 2 minutes.
Well, you definitely don't tell me that, or don't have to tell me that working for the council is a big lift. As I said earlier, I've attended every meeting for the last 2 years, so that shows my level of commitment. I did it for over a year without having to do it at all. And I just had a passion for local government and just learning how it worked and seeing how an individual citizen can actually make a difference. I mean, it really did become a passion to me, and actually speaking up for residents and trying to help them and make them feel like they had somebody, at least a person, voicing their concerns. But I spend, many hours, even prior to being a council member, but especially being a council member, I've spent many hours studying our ordinances and our comprehensive plan and all the agendas for the council meetings. It takes hours. And in fact, one of the things that I do is I created a blog one of the things I told to the people last year when I was running it, I was going to be transparent for real, because a lot of politicians tell you that. And so what I did was I created a blog after every meeting. And so every time we have a council meeting or a work session or something big like the parking issue in town, I will actually post a blog and tell everybody what's going on. That takes me 2 to 3 hours on my weekends. But I do that because I feel like it's important to the people to understand what's going on. Otherwise, they have to wait sometimes a year. We're getting ready to approve October's minutes at the next meeting. So if you are a citizen and you want to know what's going on, you can wait a year. You can spend 3.5 hours looking at the last meeting, maybe 4 hours, depending on how long the meeting was, to figure out what's going on. Or you can go to my blog and see what happened, how I voted, why I voted that way, and concerns I have as far as public works updates and other things like that.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Dr. Montalvo, would you consider making Irving Avenue one-way with one side for walkers and bicycles and the other side for cars and golf carts? 2 minutes.
Hi, I just want to, it seems that it's working now. Thank you. My microphone was not working. It is working. Thank you, everybody. And that's a question that I will say no, no, no. And the reason I will say no is very simple. The first thing is Irving Avenue is a narrow street, but it's a major thoroughfare of Colonial Beach. Right now, in order for me to change my position, I need to see a study. And I haven't seen that. Right now, when you're traveling through Irving Avenue, the golf carts very politely move to the right, so the car can continue at the speed, 25 miles per hour. If we don't have the opportunity for the golf carts to move to the right, which is what is being proposed, we are going to create a huge traffic jam. We are going to ensure that people don't even have a lot of access to town, because right now we have the Monroe Avenue and also Irving Avenue, both serve to go in and out. In case of an emergency, we're limiting the options of people to get out of town. And in addition, I want to say that why, instead of doing Irving Avenue one-way street, which again, we need a study and we need VDOT's permission on, I don't know what that entails, why don't we talk about fixing the sidewalks? I have helped people falling in the sidewalks. That's a real liability to the town and a real problem. We need to come up with a plan to fix our sidewalks, because the life of our people are at stake.
Thank you, Dr. Montalvo. Ms. Roberson, do you support the town establishing an economic development commission? 2 minutes.
Sure. I think that, I see only positives, I don't see negatives to it. I think it would be a wise thing to venture and see what would be the best options for our town. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Robertson. Mr. Denena, do you think there should be a park on the north side of town? If so, how would you suggest it be funded?
Well, as a resident, I'm not privy to the funding portion of it. So I really can't answer that, not being on town council and familiar with the budget. A park on the north side of town, if it financially could happen, absolutely. Because like I said, we need something for the kids to do, a place for them to go.
Thank you, Mr. Denena. Mr. Allison, during the off-season from Labor Day to Memorial Day, many part-timers or those renting vacation cottages are not in town. This slows down business significantly in the downtown and along Colonial Avenue. What would you do to build a year-round customer base for our downtown businesses? 2 minutes.
So obviously it would be a great idea to bring in additional businesses for the downtown area. As Mr. Mack said, having residents in that particular area within walking distance could bring extra life into that. If they could walk to a restaurant, walk to a bar, I mean, that's has worked tremendously in downtown Fredericksburg. Not that I'm trying to say that we're like Fredericksburg or anything, but if you look at the downtown Fredericksburg area now, there's lots of businesses and lots of restaurants and stuff, and they're building condos and townhouses and stuff like that to be able to walk around, utilize the space. That certainly could work in our downtown area. Within the town council, we recently approved the not to pay parking during the off season, so that will help hopefully generate some additional traffic in the downtown and Colonial Avenue areas. But I think it's the foot traffic of getting people out and about would help that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Mr. Wood, do you believe that during the last budget cycle that the budget was adequately made available for public review? 2 minutes.
The way the budget cycle works is through the town manager and town council. So if there is a problem with people's perception of how the budget is disseminated, it's through the council. Frankly, I think the budget process is open. You may agree with the way the money is spent, you may disagree with it, but the information is available to you as a citizen. There are no hidden surprises there. So I think it's important that we take responsibility for seeing. I don't agree with everything the council does as far as spending either. I have had discussions with a lot of you. I throw nickels around like manhole covers. I'm pretty conservative fiscally. But the money that is being spent is being revealed to you. There's no hidden surprises. So take the issue up with your town council as opposed to whether things are being hidden behind a cloak.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Mack, what plans do you have to fix a golf cart path from the north side of town to the beach? How would the repairs be funded? 2 minutes.
Well, it's my understanding that the town currently has a temporary plan to fix the golf cart path. They're renting some equipment to do that and bringing some material in, and I believe the cost of that is approximately $28,000, and there's a proposed possible permanent fix that's got a budget around $255,000, I believe. There's grant money available. That's considered in the world of Parks and Rec. I believe that's called a linear park. And the grant money that's available would not only improve the path, but it could add seating, lighting, exercise equipment, playground equipment for the kids. And I think we've got a great grant writer. And now that we have an economic development director, that could help in that area as well. And I think grant money is a great way to fund that kind of an effort.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Mr. Siciliani, What responsibility should town employees have to the individual members of town council? 2 minutes.
I don't believe they have a responsibility to the town council. They need to communicate their activities to them. And vice versa, the town council have the opportunity to go and talk to the different facilities and ask them if they have any issues, is there anything way they can help them. But I don't believe that the council has anything to do with what the town does. For instance, the public works, you can meet with them, but we don't have the authority to tell the people what to do. We have to be respectful of them and just make sure, ask them if there's anything that we can do for them special, any facility upgrades or whatever. And if they have any questions about their direction, they could be intermediated with the town manager who runs the day-to-day operations. Main thing for me is not to interfere with their daily operations, allocate some time with them, find out what they want, and input that you have to help them.
Thank you, Mr. Siciliani. Mr. Williams, if our public parking is sold to Dotson, what is your plan to provide the many seasonal visitors safe, convenient beach parking? 2 minutes.
Well, that's a great question, and it doesn't have an answer, to be honest with you. I've paid a lot of attention to public parking. I've actually advocated for a parking study we recently did. I even voted for it. Unfortunately, I was very disappointed. It cost us $22,000, and they basically just told us, well, you really shouldn't probably get rid of the Wilder lot, and oh, you got plenty of parking. They even included in Castlewood, down at the South Beach, they included over, I think, 500 spaces. And if most of you have ever been down there, there's maybe 100. So they basically took all the side streets, all the curb parking, everything they could stretch out for like a block or two, and they said that that was our parking. As far as the downtown parking, maybe 500 spaces, actually probably less than that, we were told we had. But we're losing at least 163 spaces with the Wilder lot. And if I don't know if everybody knows what the Wilder lot is, but it's basically the swing sets on the boardwalk all the way back towards the ice cream shop, which used to be Nancy's. So we're basically losing all that parking. Dotson development for phase 1 or phase 3B is going to be from the pier to high tides. We're losing 40 or so spots there. Now Dotson's going to put some back in there, but it's for their customers specifically. And if anybody's ever been down there on a busy weekend, that gets slammed down there. So those spaces are basically off limits right now. We sold also the space between the beach shop and the bathrooms. So that's going to be like 80% residential. So to be honest with you, they want to, some of the suggestions that we've been given is a parking garage. I don't know if anybody realizes this, but you're talking millions of dollars, $25,000 for one space. I'm sorry, but the $20 we get for a day of parking here is great, but how in the heck are we ever going to pay for parking that way? There's no answer, honestly.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Dr. Montalvo, what are your 3 unique experiences, education, or personality that makes you the best candidate for a member of the town council?
Thank you. I think I'm hitting a home run here with the questions. They are allowing me to tell my story. First, I have 2 masters, one in healthcare administration and one in project management. I also have a doctorate on management. So I am a doctor of management from the University of Maryland. That's my education. My experiences. I have a collage of experiences throughout all my life. I have experiences running major programs, multi-million-dollar programs in the largest government agency of the United States, civilian agency of the United States, and the second largest overall. I have been able to set forth the parameters and create what is called programming. Programming is how all the investments are selected, how to write the strategic plan, how they tie to it, and how to create the budget. This is the phase that goes into creating the budget that then is submitted to the Office of Management and Budget. And I have been working at the White House too. So a lot of my time I have been working at the White House and over with 2 presidents, by the way. And I have an experience in setting forth national policy, not only for the United States, but also for agencies. And in addition to that, I have an experience here as a business owner. I have an experience as a part-time resident, and I also have an experience as a full-time resident. And what that does is bring a lot of perspectives and an open mind to solve the most difficult challenges that our town has. So, I am your down.
Thank you, Dr. Montalvo. Ms. Roberson, do you volunteer with charitable organizations in town? If so, which ones and how many hours per month?
I'm
2
sorry,
minutes.
did you say the beginning part of that? Oh, sorry.
Do you volunteer with charitable organizations in town? If so, which ones and how many hours per month?
Goodness gracious. Well, I'm sure those of us who sit on council consider some of the time that's spent with meetings and the different things that we do for council. Like if I'll go to the school to see how everything's going in the school or something like that. I work at my church twice a month and more if necessary. And I get to be a grandma a whole lot of days that I normally don't get to. So, and that is real volunteer work, I think, simply because there's a whole lot of action going on with little feet. But anything that anybody asked me if I would volunteer or they needed volunteers for something, I would definitely do it. I ran the arts and crafts show years ago. It was probably 15 years ago, 16 years ago, I did that, and that was all volunteer and different things. If people ask you to help them with something, you're more than happy to do it and to help them out, because that's what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Roberson. Mr. Denena, if you are elected, do you foresee a position in town government for other candidates on your ticket who were not elected?
No. I don't know how better to answer that question. No.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Denena. Mr. Allison, Mr. Allison, what is your vision of the relationship and responsibility between town council and the town manager?
So the vision that I see is more or less what we currently have today. Town council works directly with the town manager to provide a vision, outlook, our experiences, our information that we've developed through reading resources, and help them do their job, focused around like ordinances and stuff like that, to allow the town managers to basically go off and do good things, right? So the town manager handles the day-to-day business, handling public works, the police department, all aspects of that. It's really our job as advisory individuals or commission or council. Wear a lot of hats with planning commission and Parks and Rec. Sorry. So making sure that we provide them with the town manager with good direction on how the town should run. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Mr. Wood, do you support development that can help diversify the tax base for the town?
I think development is a big part of what we need to lead Colonial Beach in the future. We all want to have medical facilities brought into town. That's important. We have to pay for that somehow. The cost of materials and the cost of labor is constantly going up. The only way we can keep from paying more taxes is to actually have more people loading the wagon. So between controlled development and also working with the Economic Development Council, then we can bring business into town to keep those expenditures into place. So the good news is, as far as the medical aspects go, Guadalupe Clinic is moving into the facility where the old food line was. And they are going to be recruiting doctors and dentists to come in at least on a weekly basis. So there's help there. So, but in order to get more facilities, better facilities, that's why we need the PUD that was approved across the street from Wilkerson's. Medical facilities are part and parcel of that piece. So in order to have all of these things that we need and want, to have our trash picked up, make sure that there's somebody to pump on our chest when we grab it one night, and to make sure that we can live in a prosperous town, then yes, we need more development.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Mack, do you believe that social media has increased constituent knowledge of what is going on in town?
So the easy answer is yes. The harder answer is it's a double-edged sword. The information that the town puts out and the official information that comes out across public social media has certainly informed the public much more than it used to be, when the only thing we did was put something in the newspaper. So now we've got it going across multiple different platforms. The town is working with Flat Shack to increase that output and do more to keep the residents informed. But it's the responsibility of the residents to make sure they're getting all the information. If the social media site that you are going to only gives you the information that they want you to read, you're not getting the whole story. So you need to make sure that you're taking what you're seeing from unofficial sites with a grain of salt. Make sure you educate yourself and give yourself the most information you possibly can to make the best decisions you possibly can with regards to how the town is operating and the status of things that are going on. So yes, I think we're doing a much better job of getting the information out there. We can always improve. Everything always has room for improvement.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Mr. Siciliani, how many council meetings have you attended in the past year?
Okay, let's see. I came here during the pandemic. So during that period, when I don't believe there were town council meetings, I would say I probably attended 6 personally and virtually. I spend time reading the minutes. I have spent time researching what the council were speaking about. So physically and virtually, probably 6. But if I was elected to town council, I would definitely make it a priority to be here. But it's unfortunate, sometimes you have other commitments, and I see what the agenda is. And not to be too negative, some of the council meetings were kind of painful. So to be on an upscale, I will be here. I will be here. I will try to be here every council meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Siciliani. Mr. Williams, do you feel that running for town council on a ticket is the best way to affect change in town government?
Well, indeed I do. I agreed to do that this year because I felt like that was the actually only way to provide the people a clear choice. As I have been discussing with friends and family in the past, you see 8 really good qualified people up here. I mean, everything looks great. You know, our backgrounds, our experience, everything we have to offer. I think a lot of people bring a lot to the town. But what people don't always know is how they'll vote when they get up there. And I've proven through my record of the last year, all the votes I've done. And yes, some people have said, well, you vote a lot with the council. Well, when I ran on the campaign of last year that I was going to work with the council, and that's what I've done. When I agree with them on things, I will vote yes. But when I don't, like, for example, raising your taxes, I wholeheartedly disagreed with that. And I think a lot of citizens agree. Now, they won't actually get their tax bill until November or after, so probably the vote will be over with by the time you actually get your tax bill. If you have a mortgage, you'll probably Be shocked when your escrow goes up, but you won't understand maybe even why it went up. It's because your taxes were raised. So bringing two fiscally conservative, Lisette Montalvo and Chuck Danetta, on the council with me gives the people a clear choice. Do you want somebody that's voting like Councilman David Williams is voting, putting the people first, trying to fight for you when it comes to your taxes or transparency, and just letting the public know my updates? Maybe if one of these people win too, they can join me on doing updates, so I don't have to do them all, like spend every weekend working on them. And I think that it indeed is a great way to make change. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Dr. Montalvo, what is your understanding of Colonial Beach's system of government and the role of mayor, council members, and town manager? 2 minutes.
Well, that's a very good question. Basically, everything is defined by either charter or legislation. So this town is no different than any other town in the United States. The mayor has a role of basically leading the council, working with the town manager to make sure that all actions that the council set forth are actually executed. We have all the council members actually passing legislation, or in this case, ordinances, to ensure that the safety and the property of the residents are protected and residents are safe. We also have the town staff, and the staff actually works for the town manager, who leads and reports to the council. And is a collaboration. There's no other way to run a government than collaborating. Working for the government, having a lot of employees under me, every day I need more employees. And it's the same in the town. We need people to collaborate, and we need to ensure that we work as a team. So despite of what is written in law, the reality is this is a team and collaboration is needed. Now, I would like to address also that I would like to bring medical practices in town. And in order to do so, when Dodson development was being negotiated, I offered to the town to consider actually purchasing a low-income unit from Dodson, and Dodson developing a unit that was affordable for the town. And the reason was to give it to the medical professionals, like many other places have done, to actually bring medical professions to town center.
Thank you, Dr. Montalvo. We have one question left, and this question will be asked of all candidates. Ms. Roberson, what parts of the comprehensive plan do you feel need to be updated? 2 minutes.
We're in the process of updating the comprehensive plan. And we will go through, and again, this is a tedious activity, but the comprehensive plan is something that we will all work on together.
Thank you, Ms. Roberson. Mr. Danina, what parts of the comprehensive plan do you feel need to be updated? 2 minutes.
Again, as a resident, I'm not familiar with the comprehensive plan. I know basically what it is, and it should be looked at every 2 to 5 years, is my opinion. But again, not knowing what it is, I really need to abstain from that. I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Danina. Mr. Allison, what parts of the comprehensive plan do you feel need to be updated? 2 minutes.
So in terms of the comprehensive plan, it's usually a 10-year plan that we've developed from like 2020 to 2030. A lot of information got put in there through our planning commission. They worked really hard developing that, getting a lot of resources, either through town staff or through council or residents within the town. I believe that the updates for that, I mean, it's a living document. It's never really done. We plan on updating it as much as possible, and wherever a need arises, it should be updated. But typically, they are updated every 5 years or so, with changing times or changing council or changing staff or changing town managers. Understanding all the aspects of the town, like I said, it's really a living document that can be changed at any time. So realistically, I think we could do every 5 years would be great.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Mr. Wood, same question. What parts of the comprehensive plan do you feel need to be updated?
See, that's where this is a difficult question to answer, simply because the comprehensive plan, as Mr. Allison was pointing out, it is a document that's a living, breathing document. It's primarily aspirational. There are a lot of good ideas in there. There's some not so good ideas. And it is something that is updated on a frequent basis. So the reality of it is a few key elements of the comprehensive plan are passed each year. And so as we move down the road with it, then there are going to be areas that I don't necessarily agree with, as far as the emergency access being put where the golf cart path is now, things of that nature. But that is not something that we're dealing with today. The comprehensive plan needs to have all aspirational aspects in it, because if you're going to ask for grant money, if you're going to ask for federal funds, then you have to have a plan in place in order to do that. So I honestly think the more information you have in the comprehensive plan, the better, because it gives you more options as you go down the road.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Mr. Mack, same question. What parts of the comprehensive plan do you feel need to be updated?
Well, as a current member of the Planning Commission, I'm very familiar with the comprehensive plan. And both of our folks sitting to my right are absolutely correct. It is a living document. It's currently set as technically a 10-year document. The current date set is 2020 to 2030, but it has a schedule for a continuous update. Each year's a different section is particularly updated. This year for 2022, what is scheduled according to, and anybody can look at it, you can pull down the comprehensive plan from the town website, and on page 10, you will find the schedule for updates on that. And for 2022, it's incorporating the most recent census data from 2020. And you don't even have to go and do a deep dive in the document. If you start thumbing through it and look at a lot of the information that's in there, most of it is affected by census data, and you will see that. That comprehensive plan also helps drive the capital improvement plan, which is an annual update every year. Major projects go on that, and there are funding levels. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but it's large dollar item funding items that go on the capital improvement plan in order of priority, and also listed on there are the ways that those items will be funded, whether it's by grant money, by town money, by federal money, etc. So I think we should continue to update the comprehensive plan. We should follow the schedule, and when things change, those things should certainly be taken into consideration. But again, it's a living document. We should continue to change it as we go. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Mr. Siciliani, same question. What parts of the comprehensive plan do you feel need to be updated? 2 minutes.
Of course, the plan is dynamic, but it exists to show the direction of the town, outlining the critical path to its goals. In the critical path of direction of what the town is striving for. There are guidelines, and they need to be reviewed periodically and frequently. We have to have a plan, and to understand the plan is a guideline, and the plan is there so the town has something to deviate from. If you don't have a plan, you can't, where are you going? So the comprehensive plan, like the town has, is a living document, but it also is a plan that is adjusted periodically, and at the least every 6 months, I would suspect. But it really is to present more of the short-term goals than to a long-term 20-year plan. If you have a 20-year plan, the last 10 years of the plan can probably be summed up in one question. We will live within our means and strive to keep the town a quality place to live. So comprehensive plan is pretty much what we're going to do only for the next few years. And then that gives us something to work with. And the ultimate goal is we have a path, and if we need to change it, we can deviate from it.
Thank you, Mr. Siciliani. Mr. Williams, same question. What parts of the comprehensive plan do you feel need to be updated? 2 minutes.
Well, I don't know if everybody knows, but the comprehensive plan, I think, is about 118 pages, if I'm remembering correctly. And it's quite an extensive document. There's a lot in there about different neighborhoods. And it also includes, future plans. But some of the things that I've noticed, just by glancing at it recently, I've been through the whole thing once before I started on council. I wanted to be familiar with it, and it's kind of dry read, some of it. But for example, the census information that Dr. Lissette had mentioned earlier, that was not in the original, so they added it before they published it. I think we're going up to 2019 or 2020 right now, so that's something I think that definitely needs to be continually updated. I don't think we have any plan for our parks in there. I mean, the parks are discussed, but we don't have an overall plan in the comprehensive plan, which seems strange to me when we have, $1 million parks like Eleanor Park, for example, that's been put into an easement, but we don't know what the future of it is. Somebody has a plan for it, but it really wasn't discussed to the public. I don't even think it ever went through the planning commission. If anybody's seen it online, there's fancy drawings with piers going out into the water and gazebos and bathrooms and all this fancy stuff, but to my knowledge, never anything like that's ever been discussed with the planning commission. Also, Castlewood Park was turned into a parking lot. I mean, half of it is parking lot still, but the master plan was to turn the entire thing into a parking lot, except for around the wellhead, which cannot have any kind of parking or anything on top of that. So that's one of the things I would say. Economic development, I think there should definitely be more of a plan in there. In fact, when they were trying to turn the point into a tourism zone, I contacted the state representative that's in charge of tourism zones in the state, and he said that there was no economic development plan tied to that
Thank you, Mr. Williams.
tourism zone. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Montalvo, same question. What parts of the comprehensive plan do you feel need to be updated?
So I will start by saying, yes, I reviewed the comprehensive plan way before it was published, and they added a lot of the census data because we pushed for it. Again, it's time to update the census data. It's in the comprehensive plan, but there are two sources. The community survey this year will be made available to the public for Colonial Beach included. That includes a lot of the data from 2017, 2018, and 2019 that is in that plan, and of course the census. The strategic plan has a real gap. It doesn't really tell what the vision for Colonial Beach is, and the vision for being a town or a city. We need that in the comprehensive plan. We also need a plan for parks and recreation, a plan to address infrastructure and erosion controls, and the economic development plan. That plan, supported by those other plans, can lead us to make really good decisions in town. And the capital improvement plan should be an appendix, as it needs to be updated every year. It should not be part of a 20 to 30 year plan per se, but it can be an appendix to it. And those are minor things, but are things that make a difference, because you want to make sure that the town selects the best investment to benefit the people of Colonial Beach. And there is data to support those investments that were selected. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Montalvo. We'll now go into the 3-minute closing statement phase. Each candidate will have 3 minutes. Ms. Roberson, 3 minutes.
Thank you. I've had the opportunity to serve on the school board for almost 10 years, and now having served 1 term for council, I feel I have more knowledge of what it is to be a council person, and I've been educated in this position. We have accomplished many goals for our town. We have hired individuals who are certified to do the jobs they're doing that they've been taxed with doing. That was a major accomplishment for this last council. Everyone that is working in town hall is certified to do what they're doing, or degreed, or whatever you want to use it as. As a retired person now, I've had the opportunity to be in town hall and watch and listen and ask questions about different things that pertain to us. And there is so much professionalism in that group. And that is why I would want to continue to work with them. We're in a good place. There were many, many years that we weren't. And I would like to continue to serve because we are in that good place. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Roberson. Mr. Denona, 3 minutes.
In working or volunteering in town, many things that I did, it gave me a great insight as far as what the town needs, what the people want. And I think that qualifies me as someone that could do a really good job, who's in touch with the people in town. Maybe not so much the past couple of years, but in the past. And I don't think things have changed. We have a certain way of life that other people don't have, and it's got to be understood. One of the things that I would like to really see here is better communication between the town and the residents. We have an older population that does not use the internet. We need mailings to them. They need to be able to be aware of what's going on out there and be able to come to these the town council meetings, the work sessions, the planning commission meetings, things like that. And then on that same note, I'd like to also see a better internet system or a cleaned up internet system. And I think that's coming. I spoke to they've changed Breezeline, yeah. And we had a major outage here about 3 months ago, and we couldn't get through, hour and 40 minutes, that type of thing. Talked to a manager here, and he said that our lines are in excess of 25 years old. They're band-aiding them, and they need to just put all new lines in here. So hopefully that'll get taken care of. I think that it is in talking to them. Lastly, and I'm going to put myself out there, I would really, if I do get on council, I would really like to be an advocate for not selling that parking lot. I believe it's phase 4. I just really see all that parking coming into all the streets. I see a lot of phone calls and calls for service for illegal parking. I just think it's going to be a real mess. And for the 2 complexes that are out there on the boardwalk that are going to be built, it would give them additional parking as well. You'd have a town sticker, there'd be no charge. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Denona. Mr. Allison, 3 minutes.
So first, I'd like to thank everybody for coming out. It's been a wonderful experience. And thank everybody here that's participating. I just wanted to give a few more items about myself that maybe some of y'all didn't know. So last year I was the liaison to Public Works, worked with Rob Murphy with that. Currently right now I'm the liaison to the Planning Commission, which meets at the end of each month, the last Thursday. If anybody's looking to be a part of the Planning Commission, please apply. Also, I'm the liaison for Parks and Rec. We're always looking for volunteers to help out with any of that outings. We had a great national night out with the police department. And my volunteerism, which I really didn't get to talk about, was, I volunteer for a lot of different organizations through the town. Recently with the Colonial Beach Boosters, supporting them. So if you eat any food from the concession stand, I'm usually the one that's cooking. Sorry if it's bad. But one point of that is, we just had a home game last Friday, and we made enough money off of that one day to support 2 scholarships for the school system. I know BAM does a lot, and I volunteered with BAM as well, but, really the school system here is, our kids are our future. And if we don't have our kids here, we really don't have a future in this town, because families come here, most of the time grandparents are here, is why people visit. We got to make sure that, our school system stays here. I'm a very big advocate for that. I know that, it gets pressed a lot, asking about whether or not we should move to Westmoreland County or not. But once you're a drifter, and you're a drifter for life. And that drifter pride is something. And I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that. Thank you.
Did you want to tell me too that I taught you?
Well, she did teach me as well.
Thank you, Mr. Allison. Mr. Wood, 3 minutes.
This has been an extremely formative town council meeting. We've been given some different ideas of directions of the town. Let me tell you why I'm running and why I think it's important that I offer my skill set in this particular time. Most of my professional life, I've been a facilitator of teams to solve projects, complex projects. And the way I've always done that is put together people of widely disparate views and let everybody talk. Nobody gets shouted down. All ideas are heard. Then the best answer inevitably gets to the top. And so when you do that, you have consensus. And when I visit with all of these people in town, and I've knocked on hundreds of doors, and I'm coming to yours too, so please don't throw me out when I get there. But what I found is that people are tired of the fighting and complaining. What we're trying to do now is put together a vision for the future that we can all abide by. And I think the proof in the pudding is when you take a look at where my yard signs are in town. I have them, people widely disparate point of views. And that means that we can work together and we can stop fighting and we can stop just getting caught into quicksand. The other thing that I think is an important skill to have for this town is I have generated revenue through bringing business to my companies for a long time. Companies like Amazon, Walmart, the United States Department of the Army, they all rely on me and my company to make sure that we keep the bad guys out of their networks. That's important work. But that also means that I have experience in going to businesses and convincing them to come do business with our team. And that's what I plan on doing, working with the Economic Development Committee here in town. We've done some outstanding work, and it would be a shame to stop it now. The other thing I want to close with is that all of the work that I've done trying to take care of people's needs, the senior citizens actually changing their lives, not talking about fighting for them, but actually doing it. So that means that we can do that in this town as well. So our choices here tonight that we've seen are we can decide we're going to throw everything out, turn back the clock, and party like it's 1899, or we can work together and come together with a vision and a future that makes us a prosperous town, helps us grow, and keeps our senior citizens from being gentrified out of their homes. I think that's a worthwhile goal. I think it's a worthwhile goal to believe in the people of Colonial Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Mr. Mack?
So when I initially did my intro, I let everybody know that I retired from the Army. When I did that, I was a senior non-commissioned officer. And as an NCO in the Army, you're a doer, you're a manager. You manage people, you manage budgets, you manage processes. So I've been doing that for over 27 years. Outside of the military, I have an MBA, a Master's in Business Administration with a focus in project management. And I've been a project manager and a program manager for the past 12 years, covering all kinds of different programs and projects that have been implemented around the world and around the country with budgets in the millions of dollars. So I'm used to managing large-scale budgets as well. I would love to be able to bring that experience to the town in the form of the town council. I've been on the planning commission. I started that back in January of 2021. I'm not going to say I've been on there a long time, but it's been a great experience and very eye-opening experience to how things operate in this town. So I have an experience in how things run. I believe in economic development for this town. I think bringing in new shops to downtown, clothing stores, like I said before, maybe a gourmet wine and cheese shop, other restaurants, any varied business. There's plenty of space. There's a lot of space under the existing condos that's vacant. Those could be certainly filled. And the people living in that area who would potentially be living above all of that, again, would most likely spend about 40% of their income in that downtown area, which would help that area thrive, not only during the regular season, but during the off season as well. By the way, I happen to love the off season in this town. It's nice and quiet. There have been times I've driven across it in my golf cart and felt like I was all alone. It was a beautiful thing. But I love the people of this town. This is a great community. Like I said, I started in a small beach town. And the thing that I love the most about this town is no matter what we think politically or how we may feel or whether or not you get along with your neighbor, when the stuff hits the fan, when storms come through, when power outages happen, we come together. We bond. We throw all those disagreements out, and we know that that neighbor needs help. When the straight line winds came through and wiped out so many houses, for days, all you heard was chainsaws and people helping. There was no argument. There was no discussion as to whether or not you believed left, right, center, whatever. We all came together, and that's what we do in this town. And that's what I love about this town. And that's what I want to help encourage all of us to do. I agree. We need to not be fighting with each other. We need to be working together. And I think we are all Colonial Beach, and we'll continue to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mack. Mr. Siciliani, 3 minutes.
I failed to acknowledge something in the beginning. I've been married to Linda for 52 years. So now you know I'm a patient man. And the thing about Colonial Beach in 3 words, and I'm sure lots of you understand what this is. It was a saying, miracle on First Street. Do we know what that is? Miracle on First Street was the first public school in Virginia, funded by private funds. Those funds paid for the interest on the loan. It was raised publicly by Colonial Beach. Regardless of anyone's feelings about each other, political stand, this town really comes together. Read about it. Okay, so there are 2 things in this town that all the decisions are made for. One is capacity. The capacity is all the infrastructure, and it just isn't sewage. It's all the systems that have to be run together to run the town. And then the other thing is priorities. Do you realize everything in your life is a matter of priorities? What TV shows should I watch? Should we spend money on a dog park? Or should we use it somewhere else? It's a matter of priorities. You know for yourself. Should I go out to dinner today? Or do I need that extra money to spend on my gasoline bill? And that town has larger priorities to work with. And it's a difficult position, but you have to realize everything's priorities. The other thing is the capacity of the town. The town only has one thing, it's capacity. And the capacity in all the systems and infrastructure in the town. Our sewage system can only handle so much. We only have so much land. Our fire department can only do so much. Our EMS system, our administrative staff, our school can only handle so much. So what you have is an amount of capacity. And when you try to expand the growth of the town, you have to take all that into consideration. Because if you try to grow faster than the capacity of your town, one or several.
Thank you, Mr. Siciliani. Mr. Williams, 3
Thank
minutes.
you.
Good evening, everybody. I just like to start off with my closing remarks by saying thank you for caring enough to come here tonight. This is the level of dedication that I felt a few years ago when I first started going to council meetings. To spend 2 hours, listening to, very important things, but it's a lot. It takes a lot out of your day. Most people are home watching TV or relaxing, so it does show your level of commitment to actually show up tonight, or also the people out there watching. It's just as much time invested watching online. So thank you for coming. One thing I would like to mention is that please go vote on November 8th. It's very important. The last mayor race was a 18 or a 17 vote difference. So that means if just 9 people had changed their votes, we would actually have a different mayor today. So your vote does count. A lot of people think, well, it doesn't matter if I go vote. No, it definitely counts in this town. I just want to remind everybody, I do have the experience, and I've also, my 25 years of business experience, and also the level of commitment that I've shown by going to all the council meetings and speaking up for the residents for the last 2 years. I want to mention the fact that I've kept promises that I made last year when I ran, so I'm not just blowing smoke. I actually have done things like I voted no for the tax increase. I told you I'd do that. I did that. I said I was going to be transparent. I do my blogs. You can go read them now on Williams4cb.com. I put the people first, and that's my promise to you then, and that's my promise to you today. And my slogan is actually working for you, because that's what I feel like I'm doing. I'm working for you. It's a fun job. I actually like it. I enjoy serving the community in this way. And it is serving the community. It is actually volunteer work doing this. I don't know if a lot of people sometimes don't feel that way, but $138 after taxes a month is not going to make anybody rich. So it is volunteer work. I'm pro school. There's rumors going around, and probably a lot of people have heard different rumors. Myself and my team are against the schools. As you've heard tonight, we're not against the schools. We're pro school. The community needs a school. And nobody wants to bus their kids all the way to Montrose. I'm sorry, but I was part of a school merger when I was in 8th grade. 2 schools merged together. The middle school stayed, the high school merged, and then a few years later, the middle school went away too. So there's definitely no guarantee if the school was turned over to the county that it would stay in this town. So I'm pro school and pro leaving the schools independent. As a public works liaison, I've done as much as I could to help the community, and I guess my time's short.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Appreciate it. Dr. Montalvo, 3 minutes.
Yes, I want to start with a very radical statement. I am running for a special election. I am running against Vicki only. That's why I had made a point of addressing the same questions that has been asked to Vicki. That way, you all have a view of how similar or different we are. If you are really happy with the way things are in town, you're happy with Dodson, you're happy with the tax increases, you're happy with the Eleanor Park decisions, and the outstanding increase in spending, please vote for Vicki, because she has voted 100% with the current administration, and you will make sure that things continue as they are. However, if you want change, you want fiscally responsible people leading this government. If you want a revision of the budget line by line with a clear explanation of why we are expending that money, if you want us to actually work for you and put residents first and not any special interest, then the choice is unique. You need to vote for me. There's no other choice. And not only for me, you need to vote for Chuck and for David, because we will have the necessary votes in council to ensure that conservative decisions are made, and to ensure that we are able to pass legislation in your favor. With that being said, I owe two questions that Vicki addressed. What she was asked, what is the role of town to support sick and needy? And my answer is not that everything is hunky-dory. I don't know that, and I don't think so. But I have noticed that there is a lack of social services here, and there is lack of transportation to take the elderly to physicians and medical appointments. So there's things to do. Also, she talked about the next question was about the Economic Development Commission. I think that's very much necessary, and they should help formulate a plan for economic development in this town. So what I bring to the table is experience, knowledge, and education. If that's what you want to improve Colonial Beach, vote for me. If not, vote for Vicki.
Thank you, Dr. Montalvo. Now, if I can get a big round of applause for all our candidates. All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn the microphone over to Michelle.
Thank you all. Just wanted to say thanks. Thank you, everybody, for your cooperation. Thank you all to the candidates. It was very informative, and everybody was very well behaved, so I appreciate that. So have a great evening.